Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Cocoa Nomad channel, where I talk about location and financial independence and share tips, tricks, techniques that help you make a living and a life. And this is yet another retrospective where I review the past week or two and talk about the things that have been going well for me, that haven't gone well, things that I've learned, and what I plan to do next. And I use this as a format for my own life, but I also hope that you would follow along and do the same. So let's dive in. First of all, let's start with what went well. And the biggest thing that went well is my return to Mexico City. I am really happy with my decision to come back. And it didn't happen from my intentions initially. I planned to return and wanted to return, but I had some other travel plans in the fall leading up to my return back home to visit family in November. But those plans changed. And so here I am back in the city a little prematurely, but I am not regretting it at all. I decided I'm just going to commit to spending 3 months here to really return to a place that I love a lot and investigate a couple of things for the future. One of those things being the possibility of just getting permanent residency. And the other one is getting long-term accommodations here. That is a long-term plan. It's not something that I'm trying to do immediately. I still have a lot of traveling to some other places that I want to do. And even after I do that, I probably will just be anchored here for a few months out of the year and still traveling. But I'm sort of working towards a longer term strategy with a lot of other things in mind. But I've established a routine here. I really love this neighborhood that I'm in. I love walking around. There's so much about it that I find pleasant and relaxing. So it's been a win. Like I just got to say, I have to say, it's been a huge win for me at this point, and I'm glad I'm back. And the second thing that's going really well is the job. My return to TeamSnap it's been really, really good. I've getting acclimated with my team, sort of going through that storming, norming, forming phase where we get to know each other and our different styles. And developers are very, very opinionated, and we have some strong personalities and strong opinions. And so we're just kind of working through that, and it's actually going fairly well. Like I don't have any complaints about it. I do like the passion, but there's respect, and people do listen to each other and they hear each other out. And we're kind of forming a unit and a team that sort of reminds me of my favorite genre of movie is heist movies. And it just starts to look like a heist team. Everybody's got a sort of different set of skills and a different way of coming at it. And we just kind of come and gel together to get the mission done. So it's pretty cool. So, and in addition to that, with the job, I did go to my favorite conference. And for the second year in a row, I was able to participate online. And that's the 360 iDev conference. Last year, I was the keynote speaker, and this year I just got to participate, and it was amazing. Again, I really wanted to be there in person, and there were some people who were there participating in person. Of course, nowhere near the normal numbers, where typically I believe the attendance is about between 300 and 400 attendees every year, but most of us were still attending online. And the thing I like about that is that it's still accessible no matter where you are in the world. So last year I was in Colombia and I was able to participate, where in years before, because I was in different countries around the world, I just wasn't able to. I didn't have the time to fly back to Colorado to participate in person. So it had been since 2015 that I was able to participate. So it was great in 2020 to be able to return. It's a lot of returning after 5 years for me, returning to this conference after 5 years, returning to TeamSnap after 5 years. It hasn't been 5 years since I've been in Mexico City, but it's been long enough. I realized it was 2019. So that was great. And so really happy and brought some of that information from the conference back to the team. So lots of good things going on, really enjoying my time here and being back. On a side note, what's going well is some dietary changes. I know I've talked about this before, but the food always gets me. Tacos always win. But I've done a pretty good job of sort of like eating some of those things that I love eating in moderation, and introducing more plant-based foods and less eating into my diet with fasting, which I've mentioned before, just to sort of slim down. I was never like super overweight at all, honestly. Like anytime I mention this, my friends just roll their eyes, like, what are you talking about? But I have an idea of where I want to be personally with my weight and how I feel with energy and things like that. So I've decided that like I've indulged in a lot of things in the last few years. So I just kind of need to cut down on all that stuff, not eliminate it, but it needs to come way, way down. Two of those being a lot of tacos and wings. I'm a big wings and beer guy. Football season's coming up. So this is really going to be an adjustment. and try not to eat my feelings because my Yellow Jackets are already off to a horrible start and I'm a little worried about the Falcons. So I'm gonna have to find a new way to cope with maybe like some smoothies that are juices with lots of veggies and salad. Who knows? We'll see. So moving on to the next section and what didn't go well. And that's really simple. As much as I love being here and as much as I'm happy to be back, I was not prepared for the weather. I forgot that this is, one, it's the rainy season, and two, it's cooler, and that no apartments really or commonly come with any kind of aircon, whether heat or cooling. And so I wasn't prepared for that. In fact, I'm probably going to have to buy a space heater just for the cold nights. There are a lot of nights the temperature drops. Now I have a blanket and it's really heavy and it's great and it helps me sleep better actually, but I have friends coming to visit throughout this time here and I don't think they're going to go for that. So I think I'm going to have to get a space heater for my friends when they get here at the very least, and they can have it in their room because I have a second guest room. So it will work out so that, but I'll use it a little bit while, especially in the mornings, like take showers early in the morning and it's really, really cold. So on the days where I work out and my body temperature is like really high, it's not a problem. But some days I don't do that morning workout every single day. And some days it's just like sitting and thinking and things like that. And then so my body temperature isn't as high and it's really chilly. So makes that step out of the shower a little hard. So maybe get that space heater, warm the room up and then get in there, almost like a sauna, get a good sweat going, but we'll see. But yeah, and the second thing is with the rain, I have not traveled with a raincoat nor an umbrella since 2015. Like when I started traveling and doing a remote year, I never bought an umbrella. I didn't carry one. Even when I was in London, I just rolled the dice. I'm like, well, rain's going to catch me today. And that's just going to be what it is. But it rains really consistently here, like clockwork a lot. And I'm out a lot more. And I don't want to stop walking. And a lot of days, it's not heavy rain. It's just constant and light. And I still want to be outdoors. Like I really do love walking the city. This is like my favorite walking city. And that's including Lisbon, where I just have to deal with more inclines and hills, but I still love walking it. Whereas this is very, very flat, lots of trees and I just walk everywhere. So in order to, to be able to do that, I'm going to have to get an umbrella and we'll see how that goes. Probably I'll pick one up this week along with the space heater. And it's like a 2-for-1. Oh, and a jacket. I forgot my birthday. I sold my jacket on another person's birthday because it looked really good on them. And I was on a boat and we were having a good time. So I was like, hey, you want to buy this jacket off of me? And they bought it. It was great. But now I'm sort of missing the jacket, missing this work coat. So there's some pictures and you can see me on Instagram with my whole Miami Vice thing that I did at one point. So, but I need to get another one now. So we'll see. Which moves me into what have I learned? And in this phase, in this time, since my trip to Guatemala, I've really sort of been trying to transition and make some major changes. And one of those has, as I mentioned, included my return to work. But I'm also trying to be focused. I have a lot of things that I'd like to get done. I have a lot of things that I want to do, but I realize that I cannot get all of these things done at once and I have to focus. So I'm doing less and I'm staying focused and it's working. So right now, my job and this channel are my priority. Now, I know I have a second channel and I'm hoping to leak a little bit of content there as I'm working on programming concepts, but it's not the focus. In fact, it probably won't get much attention in terms of videos and content until later this year, early next year, because it's just, I need time to sort of get into a groove of production with this channel, making videos with some of the changes that I'd like to make and some of the content that I'd like to share, because I'm seeing a lot of questions in forums about remote work and travel and finance and paying for these things. And I'm on my own journey as well. So I want to share all of that along the way. And that takes time to come up with the ideas, to come up with the outlines, to record like I am here, to edit. And while it doesn't have like amazing production value, I do like to add some things to sort of enhance this experience. So that is first. The second thing that I've been learning is I really am reintroducing myself to the whole FIRE movement. When I first came across the concepts, they made perfect sense and I was on board, but I knew I didn't want to retire. And if you want to check out my video about my history of mini retirements and what I've learned for them, go ahead and click here above and you'll understand why. So that was sort of like where I got off, but I realized that that wasn't the only way to do it. And there's other ways to stay on this path to financial independence without worrying about or thinking about retirement, because that's just not something I'm interested in doing. And then the second thing is along those lines is getting back into investing. I've done very little. I sort of start slowly getting back into the markets last year, picking up a few stocks, picking up a few funds, but really light, not a lot of money. So I don't have a lot inside of the markets right now. But as I'm learning more about these strategies, I'm getting really, really interested in them. So I've been learning a lot about this investing and different ways that I can invest moving forward that are going to help me reach the financial independence, in addition to these income streams that I've talked about. So putting those two things together over time will get me where I want to be. So that moves us into the next section, which is what still puzzles me or scares me. I'm not really scared of anything right now, other than a really horrible season for both of the teams that I support. But what's puzzling me is as I've been going through and understanding and trying to learn about some of these concepts in investing, particularly options, I am still very puzzled by some of these option strategies. Like covered calls makes perfect sense. I'm looking into learning about protective puts as a sort of combo strategy with that. And that is it's murky, but it's getting clearer. But then some of the other sides is just like, I'm still like not really clear on how, why, and where I would use those strategies. And I may not use them at all because these are riskier strategies. And so I'm probably going to stay with the more conservative strategies in terms of investing, but I am open to learn and open to change and see how that goes. So, but right now, some of those concepts, I'm still just watching a ton of content, reading articles to really get a better idea of how and why someone would do something different than just a simple covered call strategy. So that leads us into what's next. And the biggest thing is I will be introducing more financial videos into this channel. So I will continue to talk about remote work. I will continue to talk about travel. And I have some interesting things that might be coming up pretty soon. I actually just had a great conversation, actually two great conversations about co-living. And I'm hoping to work it out because my previous co-living, co-working plans for Belize and Dominica didn't work out. But I've been talking to some people who are in the midst of opening up similar co-living ventures in Italy and in Guatemala. So it's a good chance I'll be back in Guatemala and then moving into Italy to participate in both of those. In addition to, once I get there, I'm already committed to going to Spain and spending some time in the Canaries doing co-living there. So one of the big things I'd like to do in this channel moving forward is to introduce more videos about creating that travel life where you can actually engage and find community in other places. And I love that. It's a big part of my life. I want to go to places and have connection with other people of like minds, some of them different minds, can learn something new, which I'm not, so one of the things that I like is always learning and being introduced to different things, but having a place now more so than me just having my own apartment. But I've never really, since the remote year experience, I haven't really done any co-living, having any roommates. It's like has happened like once or twice, one off, 1 month. But these were people from my RY travel community that I know. These are my friends. So but now it's like moving into new communities because I want to know what that experience is like. I know a lot of you out there are still thinking about it or at the very beginning of sort of your remote work or digital nomad type of lifestyle. And you want to know what that's like. So I want to go out here and see what the landscape is like because it's always evolving. It's always growing. So in addition to the travel and these financial videos, I will be sharing more information about my journey. So I'll be sharing my income stream reports every month. I'll talk about how those income streams are doing, which ones I'm focused on, what ones are working, where they are in relation to each other based on the source and the type. And then also my financial independence journey. I'll be sharing about where I'm putting money and what my current status is and how I'm tracking it. Because one of the things that I've learned is I had to change how I approach it if I'm going to continue and stay focused. And in a separate video that's coming, I'll talk about those stages of financial independence and where I've typically gotten stuck. And I don't know if other people have as well, but maybe they have and it can be helpful. So I'll be talking about that very soon. And then the next two things that are new, that are next, well, one's already started, is I've started guitar lessons again. I haven't taken lessons in well over a decade. I haven't really been playing guitar a lot. Actually, at one point I could have switched over and started playing drums, which is not a thing that works really well while traveling, even though I do have a virtual drum kit. And I hope to introduce that in some sort of way and share that on the channel so people can see it's like, hey, you can travel and still have a love of instruments and find a way to play music and keep working on and practicing and progressing. And then the last one is just returning to therapy, which is another thing that I haven't done in over a decade. The first time it happened, there's some really like tragic things happening in my life, and I really, really needed it. And at this point, it's more of a sounding board to just make sure that for the things that I'm doing in my life and in my travels and in my business, I have another ear that is impartial, that will look at what I'm trying to do and really dive into sort of what it is and unlock and uncover and make sure that I'm doing the things that they're in line with my whys. Particularly, I have a big thing that I'm looking forward to doing in a few years. And I just want to make sure that I'm on the proper path for that and that I am going to be the best at that I can possibly be, because it'll be the most important thing I've done at that point in my life. So that is a sort of roundup of where I am in my life and what's happening right now. Please comment and tell me, like, what are you working on? Are you streamlining and focusing on particular things? And just at this time, like maybe it's just something you're focusing on for this month or this quarter or just until the end of the year. I am thankful. There's some people who do reach out and share. They don't share it in the comments, but they reach out other ways and share it. And I really do love hearing about that. I like to hear what other people are doing on the journey, and you're sharing those types of things. In addition, just click the like button so other people can find this channel. If you want to subscribe, that's great. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. It's not required. The liking and interaction in the comments actually helps the channel a lot more. And then if you want to click the notification bell, if you want to be notified when more videos are coming, just go ahead and do that as well. I know I asked that's a lot of things, but if you just click the like button, that's more than sufficient. I really am grateful, and I thank you for coming along, listening. Hope it's worthwhile. Share it if you think it'll be beneficial to other people. I want you to have an amazing week or two, and I will talk to you next time. Cheers.